Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
Good evening and welcome to Carnegie Town Hall. I call this meeting of the Sioux Falls Planning Commission to order. I would like to emphasize a couple of items. Out of courtesy for everyone, please silence all electronic devices. And when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record and make sure you step all the way up that you can so we can hear you well. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes to allow us to hear from everyone that is here tonight. At this time, we will consider the consent agenda. Denise, please read the items on the consent.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 1 is approval of minutes. 1A is Planning Commission briefing of Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. 1B is Planning Commission meeting of Thursday, June 4th, 2020. Item 1C is Special Planning Commission meeting of Monday, June 8th, 2020. Item 2A is a petition, a rezone 012302-2020, rezoning from the AG Agriculture Districts to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District located at 4101 South 6 Mile Road. Item 2B, petition, conditional use 012306-2020, conditional use permit for an on-sale alcohol within 500 feet of residential located at 3613 Northcliffe Avenue. Item 2C, petition, sub-plan 012296-2020, preliminary subdivision plan for Majestic Meadows, 2nd edition, new residential subdivision, located at southwest corner of East 49th Street and South 6 Mile Road. Item 3 is consent agenda approval.
Are there any objections from the audience to any of those items read that you'd like to have additional discussion upon? Okay, seeing none, and entertain commission action to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the regular agenda. I had to entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the regular agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item 5A, petition, conditional use 012261-2020, conditional use permit for an on-sale alcohol within 500 feet of residential located at 4601 East Arrowhead Parkway, number 111.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Adam Roach, Planning and Development Services. The project name is the Shopko Plaza Bar and Casino. The applicant is Reynolds Construction Management Services. The owner is Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings Corporation. The purpose of this application is the applicant is proposing a bar casino with a kitchen in an existing strip mall. The site area is approximately 2 acres. Current zoning is a C4 commercial with the RE3 form. The Shape Sioux Falls designation is a community employment center. Abutting zoning and land uses, the least compatible land use is to the south. It's a multifamily property, which rates on a scale of 3 of compatibility. With the potential incompatibility, conflicts could exist, but they can be addressed with increased additional requirements. The project conforms to all the conditional use permit standards we have set forth in the zoning ordinance to include all parking spaces. An on-site lighting plan will be reviewed upon the zoning review when the permit is pulled, and a security management plan was provided, sent to the police department and approved. The sensitive land uses, again, the multifamily to the south and the residential, single-family residential directly to the east, approximately 500 feet. Public agencies took a chance to review all the parameters of the project. There were no concerns from drainage, engineering, water, sewer, police, fire, traffic, or zoning. Land use and comprehensive plan analysis. The proposed on-sale alcohol use meets the criteria of the comp plan. This is an existing arterial corridor with commercial uses. The current retail strip mall has a casino and other commercial businesses. Appropriate buffering and setbacks were implemented when the building was initially constructed as a Shopko and strip mall, mini mall associated with the site there. Parking is on site, and again, a security management plan has been submitted and approved by the police department. Staff recommendation, because the applicant has provided clarity on the proposed use, nature, extent of work proposed, and there are existing abutting sensitive uses that have been mitigated, staff recommends approval with the following condition. Any business-related outdoor activity area need to be screened by a minimum 6 feet high fence to the adjacent residential properties to the south and to the east. And this is to mitigate any kind of noise pollution, lighting pollution, screening the activity on a proposed patio if they will install one on the back, and that's routinely what we see with projects like this, but that's up to you folks. We have received opposition to the project, which is included in the packets that you all received. Concerns include hours of operation, outdoor seating, and mitigating the noise in that effect. Vacant lot use to the east. There's a vacant lot adjacent to the east. Neighbors don't want to see any parking or any types of activities that aren't allowed on that site either. And then the access to the site, whether or not any new access will be provided to the south, and that has not been proposed by the applicant. Also in your packet, you have 3 letters of support for the project. And with that, I'd like to open it up with any questions that you may have. And the applicant is here to address any questions that you have as well.
Any questions for Adam?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions. Adam?
Yes, sir.
Would you speak to a couple of the conditional use standards that pertain to the questions that you just identified with regards to all parking spaces must be within the on-site parking lot?
Sure. The site, as you see above here, has a slew of parking. It does have enough parking to accommodate the bar, casino, and kitchen. There's also an opportunity in the back for parking as well.
So the vacant lot isn't part of that?
Nope, that is not part of this project, the vacant lot to the east.
And then regarding soundproofing, there's ordinance control of the amount of sound or the volume of the sound?
Correct. If the health department deems that the applicant is not meeting compliance in terms of the decibel level emitting from that property, and then mitigation efforts can be implemented or enforced.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair. Adam, so this would go based on legal description, so that whole area, they would be able to have access to whatever, alcohol or whatever in that area, correct?
So when you say the entire area, that's kind of a loaded question. Alcohol on a patio would be allowed on private property in the rear of this address, or if they were to establish seating out front, they could also do some type of patio. Does that answer your question?
So they wouldn't be able to have like a concert or anything out there without probably a permit, correct?
They would need the proper permitting to host a gathering of such nature.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you, Adam. Is the applicant here this evening? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Paul Reynolds with RCM Services, 4402 South Technology Drive. We're here on behalf of the ownership tonight for the particular application. Some of the comments that have been made or some of the recommendations from the board as far as the screening that is needed. The long-term plan is the ownership would like to have a patio, an exterior patio that's going to be on here, but that design is actually to the east of the building. Then the green space that is east of that right now is already under contract to be sold. So that property is, there's not going to be an opportunity for parking or anything for patrons who are going to be at this establishment. They're not going to be able to park in there. That green space that is to the east is going to be completely enclosed with a fence system for the people who are in the process of procuring it. Again, the patio design that we do have for them currently does have in the neighborhood areas that are, well, The fencing and the screening around it is 6 foot tall. There are some other areas there that they're gonna have some outdoor elements that are gonna be there. That screening will be up to about 8 foot tall. Questions?
Any questions from the commission?
Chair. So to clarify, you say the plans for the patio will go east from this existing building into that green space after it's procured, or?
There is, when it was designed, there's an easement that goes, there's gonna be a roadway that goes around that green space and attaches into the back. That easement's already been recorded and taken care of. There is a space that is approximately 24 to 30 feet out right next to the building. That's where that patio is gonna be at.
Okay.
It will be attached to the building right next to it.
Yep, so it's just not displayed on this legal description depiction, that knockout.
Sorry, my hearing is bad.
That knockout you're talking about just isn't displayed on this, is what you're saying.
When you refer to the knockout, please explain. That right there
The light
is,
blue, the blue line shows it, seems like it's going right to the building. Or are you gonna take some of the building back?
it goes a little bit to the east of that is what that patio does.
Okay,
Of that light blue line, the patio will be east of that. Does that answer your question, sir? I'm sorry.
yes,
Okay,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, other questions from the commission?
Guess I'm confused on that. So you're saying the patio goes on to the other property that's under contract?
Again, maybe you should have a legal document that's up there. That right there is not how that property is actually laid out appropriately. There is a driveway, there's an easement that is designed that's gonna attach from the parking lot on the north side that's gonna be able to allow people or a business that is moving in over there currently, allow them access so they're gonna be able to drive around to that backside.
Okay.
That's what that easement is for.
Okay.
A part of that buyout or part of that land purchase agreement is 30 feet next to that building is gonna be a patio for this business.
Okay.
Okay, other questions from the commission? Okay, seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item?
Hi, I'm Bill Fuller. I live at 705 South Gordon Drive, which is the residence just east of the property that we're talking about. What's being displayed up there now, the aerial, just south of the property that we're talking about, south of Clark Street, are apartments. In those apartments are a lot of children. And by putting this bar casino in at this location, it's going to be within like 300 feet of those apartments and those children. On some occasions, I see the children playing in that vacant lot next to the property that we're talking about. On occasion, what's in there now, or was in there now, was a gym, a fitness center. And sometimes in the summer, people in that fitness center would go outside and flip large tractor tires as part of their workout. And I can hear that clearly from my house. And so I'm concerned about putting a bar and a patio in that's going to be open to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with people talking, but probably also music playing. I think that's going to be worse than what it is right now. The people that live in those apartments, the tenants, I don't know how much they know about what's going on here. The posting of this meeting was not facing Clark Street and the people that live in those apartment buildings. And so how much of a voice they have in this whole process, I don't know. So the bottom line is the property we're talking about right now, the fitness center, has a casino right next door to it. And then there's a small strip mall that is within the yellow circus, or the yellow circle, which has the arrow or cursor on it right now. There's a casino in that strip mall, and I think there's a bar in that strip mall. So as this goes through, we're going to have basically 2 casinos in the property that we're talking about, and at least 2 casinos in that little strip mall. So we're going to have basically 4 casinos within 300 feet of each other. And basically, we're turning this area into bars and casinos. And our neighborhood is a quaint neighborhood. It's not high income. I'd say it's moderate income, well-kept properties. People are proud of their property. They take care of their properties. We have children that live in our neighborhood. And so I oppose this conditional use. I think it makes the situation worse. I think it makes our neighborhood worse. I don't think it's fair to the people that live in those apartments. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission? Okay, thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak to this item?
Hi, can you hear me? I'm Jean Fuller, Bill's wife, and we've lived there since 1973, and he said people have invested a lot in our neighborhood and kept it going, and we do have concerns, and we do see kids out playing all the time. I see kids walking through there, and on those apartments over there, those people, I haven't looked at them closely, but I think they're at least 2 levels, maybe 3 levels. Lots of little kids. They have outdoor patio area in their house where they can walk out and barbecue, and the kids are playing in the area. I personally would be very upset if I were in those apartments and knew that they were going to be doing music and stuff at night. I mean, people open their windows and they're out. It's families. And just to me, another casino with the casino, I don't think it, uplifts the quality of our area, and there are other places that maybe would be more appropriate for it. I've also, a little history is when we moved in, it was a horse farm. And there was a guy in there and horses, and we've, slowly been encroached upon, and Bill and I and our neighbors, I'm speaking for our neighbors all around us, we've just kind of let it go, back up, roll with it, try to get along with everybody. But there's a point where, I think there's maybe other appropriate places for a bar than right there across from these kids. Down the street from those kids is a small daycare center. And there's, a hair salon and a barber shop. And now we've got, Vern Ide moving in with huge cars, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem appropriate. And then sorry, I don't understand you're going to circle around the property. There's going to be a drive around the property. Where is that?
So the gentleman is referring to, there's an easement. Keep going.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a minute.
I'm sorry. Well, I don't understand, our property is on there, we've been there since '73, and there's a fence there, but I'm unclear as to where, they're talking about this road circling around. You lost me in the map here. So if someone could explain that to me, that would be good. Also, circling around, a lot of the apartment people park along that area. There's a lot of, parking and overflow parking there, plus down the street are other houses, and then that goes out to Sycamore. I'm a little concerned as to how people are going to come in and out of this bar, and then also it was put to me, or as I understood it was on sale liquor. It was just going to be a bar, and one of the concerns I had was casino. Do we really need a casino facing Arrowhead Parkway, and do a casino next to the children's consignment store, and now another casino here? It just doesn't seem appropriate. And, you know, call me a crabby old lady, but I just think, you know, we could do better. I talked with Jeff, worked with Jeff years ago. I asked how his daughter was, and she's 27. She wasn't born when I was working with them. So obviously he and I touch bases once in a while, but I said I really wasn't in favor of the strip club he was going to put in, but he assured me it's not a strip club. So I hope you guys will consider the quality of the neighborhood. People have all around there been there 50 years. So it's not, you know, a transient neighborhood, and people stay. And so we, I think, have legitimate concerns. I know you have a tough job. I know working on this board cannot be easy, but I do appreciate your time and thinking of us rather than just one business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions from the commissioners? Thank you. Do we have another applicant that wants to speak up and give some testimony before we have Adam kind of address the one question that you're prepared for? Not seeing any. Adam, maybe you want to come up?
Sure. While it's not depicted on this map, there is an access easement on the site. So the access easement runs through the parking lot on the side of the building and then like back here. So it is kind of confusing that there is an access easement there for the entire site. But as the applicant alluded to, when this transaction takes place, there will be essentially that piece will be parceled off, and then it will allow for a patio on the side there.
How wide is that access easement? Do you happen to know?
I have no clue. My apologies, but I can look that up for you. I imagine enough for a road to go through there, so approximately 40 feet.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission for Adam?
Then she did ask about the greenish line that goes around. That's just where you meld stuff to, correct? That's the notification area.
So the yellow line indicates the 300-foot parcel buffer, and while the teal line represents the 500-foot buffer.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, do we have anybody else in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Okay, thank you. I think we'll close public input. I believe there were a couple of questions for the applicant that I want to give them the chance to respond to those. If you'd like to come forward, sir.
The one thing about the establishment that is going to go in there, it's a combination of a bar and a restaurant. It is going to be the only restaurant that is in that immediate area right there. It is going to be basically servicing the neighborhood. The green space, the question regarding that, and I said this before, is that's going to end up having a fence around it. That applicant is going through the process right now of procuring that. They're going to put a fence around it. That's going to be blacktop. I know the comment was made about young children playing on that lot. You know, young children play on lots where lots are available. And, you know, here within the next 6 months to a year, that lot is going to be enclosed. It's going to be fenced in. So there's not going to be young children that are going to be immediate playing next to a bar or restaurant establishment. They won't have that opportunity. And plus with the security systems that you have to have with bars and restaurants, that's going to be visible off of the backside of the building, and plus the business that is buying that green space will have a full security system around that to protect their equipment.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you very much. I'd entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve item 5A for discussion.
Second, is that with the 6-foot screening?
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. Yes, with the conditions as noted by staff in the report.
I'd second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this item with the conditions stated in our packet. Any discussion?
For me, this one, I was pleased to hear, you know, the element of the restaurant. I think when you do have a facility or what do you want to call it? A restaurant like this where food as well as drink is being served, it just adds a better service to the area. So concerns of the neighborhood, blighting or whatever, I think it sounds like this is going to be a plus. This is going to be adding to available night out type options in this immediate area, which not being an East Sider myself, sounds like could be a good thing. So.
Other discussion?
Wanted to bring up a couple items. It seems like we started with a bar and a restaurant, and we ended up with a patio and an easement and a fence. And it just doesn't seem like this really holds together with regards to what was originally presented. You know, we can look at this and, you know, try to estimate where things would be. It actually moves I assume the patio would move the area that's within the buffers, either at 500 feet or 300 feet. So it makes it even more of an intrusion. And I don't think we've really been able to consider that. So those are questions and concerns that I have.
Other discussion?
One thing I'd say is, you know, there's a couple casinos that are in the area and a bar and type setup. So it does fit, you know, that area. You know, the biggest thing is the city will make sure, you know, basically when they come out to make sure for operation that the lighting and the sound basically meets their criteria. So that would be the biggest thing, is just making sure that, you know, down the road the sound isn't a huge issue and meets the requirements. So.
Okay, other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no.
No.
I believe we have 5-1.
Item 5B, petition, conditional use 12293, 2020, conditional use permit for a car wash to be constructed within 250 feet of DD or AD forms located at 1801 West 41st Street.
Jason Bieber representing Planning and Development Services. This is an application by Jeremy Christofferson with RSA Architects. It's located at the southeast corner of West 41st Street and South Hawthorne Avenue. The applicant is proposing to raise the existing Lone Star Steakhouse building and construct a new Blue Wave car wash and parking lot, as depicted here in this site plan. The concept plan does indicate the required 10-foot front yard setbacks along 41st Street and Hawthorne Avenue. They are required 1 parking space for every 500 square feet for a car wash, and they are providing, that's required 4 parking spaces, which they are providing. They are required 10 trees based on the frontage on 41st and Hawthorne, which they are showing. And then they are required that level C buffer yard along the south property line where they're adjacent to existing single family uses. And that buffer yard includes a 30-foot setback, 6-foot fence, and then landscaping units. The applicant did hold the neighborhood meeting on site. I believe there was 6 to 8 neighbors from the south that came. Some of their concerns was some traffic cutting through that existing alley on the south of this property. As you can see, they use it kind of as a shortcut to cut behind here at Montgomery's Furniture and maneuver so they don't have to utilize 41st Street.
the applicant has worked with the neighbors. There was an existing fence on the south side of the Lone Star building. If you've been out there, it's in a little bit of disrepair. So instead of putting the fence actually on the north side of the alley, they are going to replace that fence that's directly adjacent to the residential uses on the south side. And then they are looking to put 5 12-foot coniferous trees in there to help block sound on that south side. The proposed car wash does meet the criteria of the comprehensive plan. This is an existing commercial corridor with lots of retail uses fronting West 41st Street. As I indicated, the applicant has worked with the neighbors in trying to get some additional mature evergreen trees to block the sound and then also replace that fence that's in disrepair along that south property line. This should also help meet that 60 decibel level at the property line that is required. And just want to kind of make this clear with some of the car washes we've recently had. With all the stuff that they're doing, once before this thing can open, the health department does have to go out there. They do have to measure at the property line, and if those blowers, vacuums do not meet that 60 decibel level, then the applicant will have to do additional elements on the site to make it meet that 60 decibel level. But they are confident with their existing setup here and using some data that they've obtained with their one that just recently opened in Brookings that they should be able to meet the 60 decibels at the property line. Because the application has provided clarity on the proposed use, nature, and extent of the work proposed, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit with the following conditions. One is to provide a minimum of 5 12-foot evergreen trees along that south property line. And sorry, here's just a couple of pictures. The west side is the ones, the existing one that just opened in Brookings, and the east side is what this could look like with the evergreen trees and the fence. And then number 2 is to provide a minimum of that 6-foot screen fence along the south side of the existing alley as the applicant has worked out with the neighbors. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here this evening?
Good evening. Jeremy Christofferson with RS Architects, 2307 West 57th Street, and I am representing the owner on his behalf today. I guess I'll go through just a quick little summary of the site plan to help orient everyone to what we're planning to do to redevelop the site, and then I'll talk just briefly about our community meeting and what we gained from that, and then open it up for questions. I'm assuming your screens have the same thing up there. Okay. If you look at the site plan there, what we're planning to develop is a 5,300 square foot tunnel wash, car wash, located in the center of the site with circulation all the way around. For those that aren't aware, a tunnel car wash is basically the type of setup where the car moves through the equipment rather than the type where the equipment runs around the automobile. Excuse me. The total site is about 54,000 square feet. We're able to fit in about 10 vacuums for self-service along the west side of the building there. We have an additional 5 along the south part of the property. We will have a smaller producer on the south side because we have half as many vacuums. One item of note with the vacuums, the brand that we have selected to use for our type of wash is a little bit different than the industry standard in that they provide a muffler system on the vacuums, which greatly reduces the decibel ratings on those. The information we have from the manufacturer is that the decibel rating at 30 feet away from those things is about 38 decibels. So it's significantly less than a lot of their competitors, which is one of the reasons that we use that brand. For that reason, we're not planning any specific enclosures around them. They're painted a nice gray color, so they kind of fade away. They aren't very unsightly, and we do have a significant amount of landscaping planned around the one on the south side of the site. So, in addition to that, the alleyway was another thing that Jason talked about. That is an existing right-of-way through there. We obviously don't control who uses that. I'll talk a little bit when we talk about our community meeting, what some of the concerns were there. From an access standpoint, we have 3 points of access to the site. There's an existing driveway off of 41st Street that is shared with Montgomery's. And right now, the right half of the lane is very nice and concrete and looks great. And then the half on the parcel that we're purchasing is falling apart. We plan to bring that up. The entire site will be paved in concrete, so it'll be well maintained, well taken care of. We're planning one-way traffic in from 41st Street up on the north part of the site. Ideally, we'd have two-way traffic there, but we tried pushing the building as far north as possible to separate us from the residential neighborhood to the south as much as feasible. The second access point we have is the existing location off of Hawthorne, and that will be two-way in and out. That'll be our primary exit point for the car wash. We are planning to close the access point that's existing probably about 50 feet from 41st Street on the northwest portion of the site. You can kind of see it in that aerial. There is an existing driveway there that we're planning to close. And then our final access point for the site is a one-way entrance off of that alleyway. Because it's there, we're going to have that as a secondary entrance. Primarily, our staff will come in there to park. You can see the staff parking is along the east side of the site there. There will be probably some people that will come in there depending on where they would like to go. We decided to do that one way as an entrance only, in part because we did not want to encourage any exit traffic leaving the site and exiting through the residential neighborhood there. We wanted to push everybody out onto Hawthorne. The landscape buffer on the south side of the property, the zoning ordinances require that we have a 30-foot zoning ordinance. The requirements stipulate that we can cut that in half by using the public right-of-way there with the alley. We are not cutting it in half, but we are planning to provide a 25-foot landscape buffer there. We feel that's enough to provide the adequate amount of plantings that we need. We're required to have 63 planting units. And also provide us enough room to get what we deem would be an exceptional amount of evergreen plantings along there. We are planning to plant as many evergreens in there as necessary to provide both a visual and sound blocking area. When we plant those, as Jason mentioned, we're planning to transplant 12 to 14 foot high trees, so they will have some maturity to them when we put them in there. We're looking at different varieties at this time to find the best solution so that we can keep the spacing as tight as possible and still keep some healthy trees. We have looked at additional options. There are some evergreen shrub options that are also pre-grown. They come in about a 5 to 6 foot height. So that's another thing we've been looking at. We're just uncertain as to exactly the scope and extent that we're going to go there. But that will be a very nice landscape area. The next item then would be that fence. As Jason mentioned, the owners to the south prefer to keep the fence on their property, so we plan to replace what they've got. It's in a little bit of disrepair. We're in agreement with them that they'd like to see a 6-foot cedar fence with steel posts to avoid any post rot and help with the longevity of the fence, so that would be our plan for the fencing. There is a small secondary building on the southwest corner of the site. It's only about a 200 square foot building. It will meet all the setback requirements and everything. It's approximately a 12-foot high to 14-foot high structure at the highest point of the roof. We kept it a single slope roof with a very low slope to try and keep us from getting any height there. What that building is it's for courtesy mat washers that we provide to our customers. So, and then additional to that is the enclosed trash enclosure that we tie that all in together. I think there might be a picture in the photos from Brookings, but it's a nice CMU enclosure, 6 foot tall around the trash, and the whole thing gets clad in a cultured stone veneer that matches the building. So it'll look very nice. I think I'll move on then to the meeting that we had. And we hosted the community meeting on June 22nd. The invites went out to everyone that was on the city's planning list for the designated distance. In that group, we had 9 individuals representing 5 properties. They happened to actually be the 5 most adjacent properties. Montgomery's to the east had a representative.
The strip mall to the west had 3 representatives show up. The neighbor to the direct south of the alley showed up, and 2 neighbors from Glendale showed up. We had a very good meeting. There wasn't any opposition to the project. There were some questions, and I'll just go through what some of the questions we had were. So 3411 South Hawthorne is the strip mall to the west of the property. Their only question was regarding parking. They wanted to make sure that we had adequate on-site parking for our staff so that they would not lose any customer parking to us. And we were sure to let them know our typical staffing is 4 staff members in a given shift, and we have the 4 parking spaces to accommodate them. On the off chance when we are going to have someone that's coming in for a new training, the owner's going to work with Montgomery's to use their parking lot for overflow. They have quite a lot of extra spaces in the back. In the near future, there is a second location in Sioux Falls planned, a much larger location with much more parking, and that would be where employee training would happen in the future. So this would be a short time when any training would occur here. The next property, 3501 South Hawthorne, is actually diagonal to the site. He did not attend the meeting. However, we did have an individual one-on-one conversation with him. It went very well. He didn't have any opposition to the project. His one question was how we were going to screen our property from his property visually. And that is part of the reason that we are showing the landscape buffer yard. We're actually wrapping that an additional, I believe, 25 or so feet, maybe 30 feet to the north to fully screen the trash enclosure. It's going to have some nice stone on it, but we're bringing that landscaping around to soften that edge and help with the views and the sound there as well. The next property that we have was 3500 South Hawthorne, which is directly south of the alleyway. Both the husband and the wife showed up. We had 2 conversations with them prior to the community meeting as well as the community meeting. Again, they had no opposition to the project. They did have some questions. Their first question was about noise, and we assured them that we would be doing everything we need to do to meet the 60 decibel requirement. They weren't terribly concerned about it because their garage acts as a natural buffer between their house and the property. They just wanted to know what we were going to do to make sure. They were very satisfied with the evergreen trees that we're planning to put in there. They thought that was a great addition and liked seeing that in the landscaping area. The fence was the next topic. They wanted to know what we were going to do about the fence, and they were satisfied with the replacement that we're talking about. And the third thing that they were concerned about is actually an existing condition on the alleyway approach. The approach is currently in pretty bad condition, and they said every time it rains, the mud and dirt from that actually washes down the sidewalk into their property. And so we said, well, when the project goes, we're planning to scrape the site completely and start over and replace everything so we can replace that approach. I know it's a public right-of-way, but I'm sure we can work that out so that we can replace that approach for them. That should ease any of the mud and drainage problems that they're having. So that was their group. And then the last 2 were over on Glendale. They were the first 2 houses that are directly south of Montgomery's. They didn't have any concerns about the project. Their question was regarding traffic. They were the ones that had raised the concern about how people currently use the alleyway, and their estimation is that it's Costco members that are cutting through there to get over to Costco. I don't know how they came about with that, but I think it had to do with a spike in traffic once Costco opened, and they're correlating the 2. I did tell them we really don't have any control over how a public right-of-way is used. However, I did point out to them that we are not allowing any discharge onto the alleyway, so that should reduce any sort of impact from our patrons leaving the site and going through on Glendale. So they seemed pretty satisfied with that. I think that addresses everything that we had for neighborhood conversation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any commissioner questions? Thank you for the informative summary.
Thank you.
Would anybody else in the audience like to address this item?
Eric Sinclair, owner of Montgomery's, just to the east. I'll keep this very short. I'm speaking in support of the project. The property owners have been out of state for years on that current parcel, and I'm just super excited that Mr. Olson's looking to invest in that property. I have spent years mowing the yard there, doing their snow removal, fixing their parking lot, and it has been in a state of disrepair for long before they went out of business. So it is a great thing that this investment is going to be made on 41st Street. We do everything we can to keep our property in A+ condition, and I think this will just improve not only the 41st Street business corridor, but definitely what the homeowners around it are going to be seeing. It has been really a struggle to try to keep that property in any type of shape over the last 5-10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you. Anybody else in the audience would like to speak to this one? Seeing none, I think we'll close public testimony, and I entertain commission action.
I'll make a motion with the 2 conditions.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve with the 2 conditions. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd just say what Eric said. I mean, basically that property for the last couple of years has really needs some work. When that tornado came through, and there's just been signage everywhere, and it's just good to have someone to come in the neighborhood and clean it up and basically make it a good property.
Mr. Chair, I agree with Larry. I think it's going to be a good addition to that site. It's going to be a good improvement. I think they seem to work well with the homeowners in the area, and I think the addition with the fence and the evergreen trees are going to be a nice upgrade for those neighbors.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I appreciated the presentation too, and that it was so complete and represented good communication involving the neighbors, good plan with regard to noise abatement and utilization of the lot. So it's a good project in all those ways.
Mr. Chair, I'll echo fellow commissioners' comments, and seriously, if there ever is a standard for testimony from an applicant or owner group, this should be the presentation that's referenced for that. It's very thorough, very complete.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 5C is a petition to update City of Sioux Falls Planning Commission bylaws.
All right, last item on the agenda. Just quickly, we'll go through some of the highlights with our Planning Commission bylaws update. Obviously, it's something we like to maybe look at every year, every other year. It's been a little while, so it's good that we're getting these in front of you and trying to make some corrections with some of the things that maybe were a little vague within our bylaws, and making some changes with part of COVID and being able to do remote in meetings and things like that. So just quickly go through some of the highlights. We're looking to Chairperson Pro Temp. Change this for a commission voted each time, so it would just automatically be the most tenured planning commissioner on the dais. If our chairman or vice chairman wasn't here, then we wouldn't have to do a vote and people vote for somebody. So just making something a little bit easier. Corrected the regular meeting dates to allow for date changes based on city holidays, city council meetings, and other special event conflicts. As you guys know, sometimes we get bumped quite a bit from the city council if they have a special event on a Tuesday night. It seems like they always have one on the first Tuesday of the month, and so obviously they move to Wednesday, and we can't meet on Wednesday because we need this room too. So then we've traditionally moved to Thursday. We just wanted to put language in there to make sure that it was clear that that's okay for us to not have it on the first Wednesday of the month. So make it a little bit more flexible for us with the dates of the Planning Commission meeting, but still maintaining we have all those notifications, notice of hearings, and things that we still have to comply with. Remove specific regulations to joint meetings. We do have joint meeting bylaws for each one, so why do we need to reference them in ours just specifically for our commission? Added public input on the non-agenda items to agenda items. That has been added to pretty much every meeting. However, we hadn't looked at it in our bylaws yet, so we're just getting that specifically on the books to be as part of our meeting order. The quorum of our members was redefined to not include the absent or recused members. As you know, sometimes we may have 5 here or 5 out of Lincoln County, and one of those members may recuse themselves. We wanted to change the language in there to still allow us to have a quorum, that member that recused themselves was still counted towards our 5-person or minimum quorum. So that'll make it a little bit easier with some of our meetings and some of our planning commissioners that are involved in so many things and have to recuse themselves quite a bit. So, and then, as I indicated, allow members to participate via phone or internet. Obviously, technology is changing, and specifically with COVID, it was something that we needed to add in there to be able to give you guys that option. And then we did, at our planning commission briefing, we did have some changes that were suggested by Eric Nyberg, and our attorney Charla looked at them and put the language in there. So the copies that you guys had tonight should be those updated changes that were discussed at the planning commission briefing. And that pretty much wraps it up.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chair, Jason, I do have one question. I was thinking about this just before the meeting. On Article 7, number 3, what was the reason why we were changing that?
Oh, we were, we got rid of those things. Approval of the consent agenda, including the minutes of previous meeting.
So if I remember right, we were moving that stuff to the consent agenda?
That must have been a procedural thing that we just didn't need those specific things in there, that when we say approval of the consent agenda, we're just approving everything on the consent agenda, so.
Okay.
That might have been one of those attorney things that we always have to do, you know.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're giving people enough, input and that type of stuff, so that's.
Yeah, that wouldn't change with anything, how we're running our meetings, where the consent agenda would stop and make sure we ask everybody. And as you know, pre-COVID, we've tried to really catch people as they come into the meeting to ask them why they're here. And if they have questions on the consent agenda, try and go through with them. If they still have questions, really help facilitate and pull it off with staff ourselves. So yeah, nothing changes with that aspect of it, so.
Perfect.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval as submitted to us this evening. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is public input on non-agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to give us any public input? Seeing none, I don't believe we have any new business, correct? So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Make it a great night, Sioux Falls.
Yes.